The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed on the Canna Connect Show belong solely to the individuals and do not reflect those of Canna Connect and its affiliates, sponsors, or partners. Canna Connect does not promote or facilitate any activity that violates state or federal regulations. Everything you hear here is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not legal advice, it is not financial guidance, and it's definitely not medical direction. Seriously, don't take our word for it. Even if someone on the mic sounds like they know what they're talking about, and they're probably crazy smart too. Regardless of how legit our guests may be, you should always do your own homework, consult with your attorney, and understand the risk you're taking before you do anything when it comes to cannabis. Our intention is to keep it real. If you've got a problem with anything we've said, take us to court.
Welcome back to the Canna Connect Show. Today on the show, we have Andrew Johnmeyer from Green Machine Cannabis. On the show, we're going to talk about Andrew's beginnings in the Minnesota cannabis industry on the medical side. We're going to talk about his path towards applying for a micro license. We're going to talk about agriculture, farming, the things that you do. And at the end, we're going to talk about legalization and how it's only kind of worked. And there's things to look out for as you're pursuing a cultivation facility or going for a retail license. It is incredibly challenging depending on where you live. I appreciate you being on the show today, and let's get into it.
Thanks for having me.
When I saw you pop up on the YouTube of the live testimony campaign ahead of adult use legalization,
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I know that guy from the farmer's market.
Yeah.
I wonder how he got his hat in the ring. And I reached out to Laylee and I said, hey, how did Andrew Johnmeyer end up
And all this cannabis stuff.
in all this cannabis stuff? And then come to find out you were a part of the Rochester chapter of MN Normal.
Which we turned it into Sensible Minnesota after Normal kind of fell apart at the state level for a while.
And that's how you go way back with Maren Schroeder.
Right.
Okay.
And Kurt Hanna.
Okay.
And several other people that were all got in together and founded that organization. And really, because that right as sort of Normal was cracking up, that was the year that the medical bill was going through. So we were kind of juggling all of this at once. And
which you're talking about the medical bill up under Governor Dayton?
Under Dayton, yeah.
Okay.
So, and that ended up being a whole
Very
set up to fail kind of situation.
right. I mean, it's not that long ago that we were seeing like grades for the medical program and being like just about at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Letter grades of like a D- or close to.
And that's sort of what the first stuff that I was doing with Sensible was going out, looking at other states and trying to come up with some sort of objective comparison of like, okay, here's how much more expensive it is, how much harder it is to access, this is how limited our products are for patients.
Yeah, I mean, if people don't fully know the extent of the medical program, I think one of the easiest ways to put it in perspective is you couldn't just buy flower from the medical cannabis
10 years almost. Yeah.
For nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
So the plant in its essence was not available. It had to be further extracted, further refined, put into a more expensive modality.
Precisely. They wanted the most sort of pharmaceutical model they could get.
Yes.
That's what we got. And it was not a great thing for patients, to say the least. So,
and if you think about maybe where psilocybin could come online or come into a medicinal, it's you have to be peripherally aware that they may try to run that same approach.
For sure. Yeah.
Given the influence that the medical companies have, not just the duopoly, but the actual, like the medical industrial complex, like the Mayo Clinic and
for sure.
United Health Group and the influence.
Have a lot of say in the state, unfortunately.
And not where you're originally from, but tell me where your farm is. Tell me a little bit about where you live and work.
So I live in the southeastern corner of the state, just a little north of Rochester, in a town called Zumbrota, and we had that farm there since we moved here when my daughter was just a little little toddler, and a newborn,
Yeah.
actually, and so we've been here 13 years.
Wow.
And then we have been raising livestock and doing farmers markets in the Twin Cities mostly for most of that time.
Yeah, I knew you through the logo with the wheel,
Yeah.
the tractor, and you were always standing out with a nice hat on and doing your best to differentiate yourself at the St. Paul Farmers Market, the longest running farmers market in Minnesota. And
Indeed.
I was doing social media for the nonprofit, the St. Paul Farmers Market, St. Paul Growers Association, I suppose. But so that's kind of where our worlds collided. I think I know you, but I didn't know that we both had an interest in the cannabis industry. Yours much longer than mine, but when you talk about your daughter, and being where she is now at 13, how ingrained is farm culture in her life, and how have you, as a farmer and a multi-generational farmer, how have you shown your kids the way of ag?
It was really important to me to give them the same kind of upbringing I had, and just being out in the country around animals was always really important, and that access to the outdoors. And so, I've jumped on the opportunity to pursue that when we moved here. And as far as
You kind of have to get your hands dirty, right? It's know-how, grow-how. It's grow-how, know-how.
Yeah, I mean, I knew shockingly little when I started.
Okay.
And just kind of learn it all on the fly is the name of the game with running a small farm. You have to do everything, and you have to learn how to do it all, because
Right.
nobody's born knowing. So
Right.
you kind of pick a little bit up here and there, and pretty soon a decade has passed, and you're passably good at most things. So,
and what has been successful on the farm as far as livestock goes, or what products are?
Yeah, the doing pasture raised eggs was always, I guess, something we were just good at right off the bat, because we always had crazy demand for that, to the point where you could never was able to fill it. It was kind of wild.
Sure.
But run that, and just the kind of combination of things, the way things come together at a farm level when you have a grass-fed beef herd, and then you have pastured poultry and other animals on top of that, and kind of seeing the way you can improve the land over time,
right,
and really rewarding, I guess.
When it comes to like the soil and all the technical things that you share on your social media at times, or your profile, it's a lot of tinkering, I would say. Is that?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Right.
And I think farming tends to attract the tinkerer personalities, that you get to do a lot of things, and everybody has a different way of running things, and no two farms are run the same, because they're all slightly different situations and a different personality running it. So you can take things from different places, but you ultimately have to tweak them a little bit and make them your own.
Adapt.
Adapt to your specific conditions.
Yes.
Is at times very challenging, but can be very rewarding once you finally get it right.
Incredibly challenging. The eggs thing stands out as I think about how many eggs my wife and my daughter go through. I mean, it's Larry Schultz Farms has a good thing going. He's
there you go.
He's figured it out. But
yeah,
when it comes to figuring out the Minnesota cannabis industry, it's a lot less success and predictability. I'll first say it's easy for me in my position to just rose-colored glasses, look to the future, look at the out-of-state folks that are going to come in, that are going to fund my media company in the future. I'm not saying they are currently, but in theory they could, and look past those that have been here and that were working to transition from a home grow to an adult use business or cultivation. And we don't have time to go through all of the hiccups along the way.
There certainly were a few.
I think generally the politicians were way too positive and leading around craft and social equity than what actually has been instituted. So I'd say
Sure.
as much as they are to champion, they are also to blame
Mm-hmm.
because they were drinking their own Kool-Aid in the halls after legalization on May 30th. And
Could fairly say that.
yeah, I mean, and you were there, right? You played a role in messaging and informing and giving testimony to get what we have.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's it only gets more complicated from there, right?
Yeah. And every little step along the way. Because I'd say you're totally right. There've been a lot of lip service paid to craft and social equity, and that's mostly all we've seen is lip service. And when it comes to actually the decisions that get made, and in almost every case, it seems, whether there's an outcome that can advantage the social equity or the craft market or one that's going to hinder it, 99.9% of the time, we're going with the one that puts the hammer to it.
I think about the potency limits on extracts initially, not initially, but I think of that first. And then I think about the amount of extract required for testing purposes.
Yes, those were all
Take me
glaring
through
examples.
if let's say this was your extract,
Okay.
your total yield.
Sure.
Take the audience through what would actually be required from a percentage standpoint that you'd have to give to the testing facility, that you literally have to pay someone and give them how many grams of overall.
I believe, and my memory's a little fuzzy on this, but it was somewhere in the like 45 grams of concentrate you would have to give to the testing lab.
And compared to Michigan, for example, in another state, I think maybe they'd get away with
one.
Wow.
2, 3.
Yeah.
Like single digits.
Low
single digit numbers. And like this, not only are you giving up a lot of valuable product to go sit in a freezer at the testing lab for, years on end.
Right.
But the testing lab has to store that and keep it under lock and key. And where are they going to come up with? Right. Like this is a lot of storage for them. How do they get rid of it? Right. This causes so many problems. And in really typical fashion, we all brought this up during the rulemaking process and the comment periods for that.
Right.
Along with a host of other things.
Right.
And the change that we got was the smallest concession to reality possible, which was maybe 45 grams is too much. How about 37? Right. Which is like, okay, that's better. Technically, that's better, but we didn't solve the problem at all here.
No.
We still have a huge red flag problem. Everybody has to deal with.
Still cut off my arm.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, and that's more of a recent issue. I think about also the 10% tax that people could live with, and then at the very end of the session this past year, it became a 15% tax.
It came a little more overnight, a lot more.
Turns out, we were running out of money.
Yeah, and why not go to
the new kid?
Ask him for his lunch money, I guess.
But yet that's the tax. That's not that's passed to the consumer.
Yeah.
Up until or at that time. Unless you were a medical patient, that's hitting the folks that buy 4-packs and 6-packs and 10 packs of gummies and all that stuff, which skewed a lot towards senior citizens.
Yeah.
For the volume buyers of hemp products.
And I think you can hear that at least anecdotally from people that run recreational dispensaries. The main thing they're seeing people come in for sleep. Right. Medical. This is the access point for most people for medical cannabis.
Everybody sleeps.
Almost overwhelmingly.
Mm-hmm. And if so, you're not going to be here for that much longer.
Indeed. But has had trouble with it would know, right?
Yeah. No, you're right. And so the other thing that kind of throws me off, and that's why we made Cocoa Flow, is these cannabinoids have been stigmatized.
Oh, for sure.
CBN is this.
Mm-hmm.
Only this.
Yep.
It is like Xanax because we have to compare it to something in order to help the consumer understand it. But then that proliferates. That goes then to the new beverage maker, the person who's new to the hemp industry but looking to get in, and then they come in with a stigmatized version of what these cannabinoids are because they entered the hemp or cannabis industry after full spectrum CBD products were allowed, and now they're less available. And so I think of a product that Crested River came out with in 2021, Complete Spectrum.
Okay.
And so it was an intentional tincture that had multi-cannabinoids, not unlike this drink here, Cocoa Flow. I bring that up only because when you put cannabinoids together, you get a much different experience than when you're taking an isolated version of CBD, CBG, CBN, etc.
Yeah.
And so functionality is still, I would say, we're at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to products and understanding of
for sure.
how these can be used at different points in the day. And if you change the ratios a little bit, I compare a lot of the beverage industry to like only having a 5% lager or a 10% lager. And I get that there aren't really 10% lagers, but like when you have a 5 milligram and a 10 milligram THC product, and that's all that you offer, you're leaving so many cannabinoids out of the conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, when you grow yourself at home, obviously that's where you're getting the full spectrum. That's where it starts.
Yeah. You can get whatever you set your mind to. Well, a certain point.
And tell me a little bit about how you decide what you grow and yeah, take me through your process as a home grower.
Yeah, I love to. I'll say, pretty much since the beginning, I've grown for other people to use medically, and from members of my family who have sleep issues,
sure,
to friends and acquaintances that have various ailments that they need for it. So anytime I'm hearing of something that has my favorite thing to hear from a breeder when I go to like talk to a seed breeder about genetics is, what are you excited about? And the minute they mention, they'll usually, as a throwaway line, they'll say something like, "Oh, but that's more of a medical strain." I'm like, "Tell me more about that. That just means it does something cool. So tell me more. What is this about? What does it do?" Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those are the ones I've had a lot of fun looking through. And so you get some interesting terp profiles.
Yeah.
You get some interesting ratios going on and interesting effects from those.
What are some of the success stories or where you've been able to help along the way as a caregiver, perhaps?
Okay.
When it comes to what have you seen cannabis do for some of the patients and some of the people in your close network that have used your product?
For sleep issues,
Sure.
obviously, just like the anecdotes from all the rec states,
Right.
like that is a huge issue for a lot of people. And so finding something that works for a person in that regard is it's always been very important. It's very tricky to find something that works for multiple people because everyone sort of has a different receptors that work differently in each person. So it's hard to find something that works for everybody.
Well, and maybe that's where I take issue with the way folks talk about cannabinoids. Because if you say CBG is the power, or CBD is the pain, or
CBN's the sleep.
CBN's the sleep. Well, yeah, you're right. But it's the ratio that matters. And now I'm as we do more beverage development, terpenes. Terpenes are far more impactful than the everyday cannabis user realizes. Maybe not every day, but the everyday American realizes. And terpenes are in everything. They are in many things. So Tell our audience a little bit about terpenes and where they come from.
I'll give you my farmer's view on terpenes and what they are. Yes. I mean, they're, like I said, they're in everything. So it's and again, we're still, as we've hit on a few times here, there's so much we don't know about cannabis because research has been shut down for most of our adult lives. It only really opened in the last 10, maybe 15 years at places. So 10 years from now, we're going to know so much more than we do. We're going to look back at ourselves and say, like, man, we didn't know this basic stuff. Yeah.
I completely agree. I mean, even just the access to cannabis that every 10 years, if you think back to
Oh, for sure.
how, you could buy CBG flower at during the pandemic. Like, now that wasn't around 10 years prior to that. And
Oh, no. Yeah, you'd be lucky to know the name of what you were buying 10 years prior to that almost.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
I think of how many bags of cannabis I bought where I had no idea what the strain was.
What cannabis is it? Isn't it? Cannabis kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does the trick, I guess.
Do you phenohunt or do you do things like that?
I think every grower needs to.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I've come a long way in the last couple of years since legalization was like, okay, now I can come out of this tiny tent in my basement and kind of really put a lot into learning cultivation. And one of the first things you run into when you start keeping multiple phenos of the same plant is like, wow, these are really different.
Wow. Right.
Especially when you get to the end and you have a product, and sometimes that can be just wildly different one pheno to the other in terms of is it good for drying flour, or is it a washer, or what is the cannabinoids totals and the ratios coming off of that. Each plant can be dramatically different. The terpenes, all of it. There's a stunning amount of diversity within even one relatively stabilized strain. So
it's like having the last name, but then showing up to a family reunion and understanding there's many different types of personalities all at the same party.
Exactly. And you got one really tall guy, and you got grandma who's real short, and there's kind of everybody in between, and every different shape and size too. So
right. And at what point would you decide to cross one plant with another plant?
That I've only really recently started messing around with.
Oh, really?
Just to keep some genetics around that I liked. And, I'm interested to cross some based on those kind of effects and cannabinoids. But I think where we are, especially growing not in an indoor context, in an outdoors or a greenhouse, we have some real restrictions based on our climate.
Okay.
Right. And so we have to weed out a lot of, no pun intended, the stuff that is not just flat out not going to work for us.
Yeah.
Let's narrow in on a few that are going to be more fruitful, basically.
So climate really plays a role in what you grow.
Right.
And you grow greenhouse
and outdoor.
And outdoor.
A little indoor too.
Sure.
It's Minnesota and you have to.
Right.
So, but
yeah,
is looking for stuff that's grown along your sort of longitudinal area of the globe, right? So things that come from cold mountainous regions that have short days most of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's very interesting to realize that cannabis is grown around the world.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of kind of well-known and well-loved famous strains that are from equatorial places that can take as long as they want to finish, and it doesn't maybe always work out so well in a Minnesota fall context when you might get snow next week and that haze might not be done. So you really have to make some choices.
But really, the last 2 years have been great growth.
Oh yeah, we've really had some real nice luck at the end of the season.
Tall plants.
Yeah.
We're gonna stay away from the memes per se, right? If you want to TikTok memes, go back to the Northern Lights episode with Marcus and Tanner. But let's talk about where people started to get upset. And I think you can point to the lottery as a point when things started to change not in your favor.
Right.
How did you apply initially for a license in the Minnesota cannabis industry?
Sure. I was following it, obviously, from the HF 100 since the very origins of that bill. I mean, I think as soon as that trifecta was a certainty after that election,
right,
that and Walls came out the next day and said, time to legalize cannabis. I'm like, okay, well, got Marin on the horn. Like, what do I do? How can I help?
Cool.
Like, let's do this.
Right.
And as soon as I heard microbusiness, I saw that in the text. I was like, that sounds like me, right? And the more they kind of refined that idea and landed around that 5,000 square foot, and I'm like, hey, this is lining up really nicely with like what one person can manage in terms of cultivation. And we're like, this sounds like the amount of work that one person could do. I can have my own little thing going here.
Yeah.
This is great. So as that process went along, I was following it, and
it's about 6 months of legislative work from the election to the end of session.
Right. Then legalization kicked in August. I think that was 2 days before the first Canna Connect.
Great part.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
That the timing of that worked out quite well.
It was.
For me and Canna Connect. And we had July 29th where the Canna Connect 2, Jesse Ventura made his announcement that he was getting into the hemp world. And then 2 days later we had...
They're lighting it up on...
No, we had the class. We had the Doc Dabs cloning class. Oh, nice. With the Minnesota Cannabis College. So on the eve of legalization, there was a Monday night, July 31st class at the Wilderness. And Clement brought a whole bunch of clones, which we only did that once. And then we realized that we can't do that anymore. But the next day on First Avenue was a memorable affair. It was a hell of a
party. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
I was watching from outstate.
Okay, yeah. But you've certainly played a role in bringing cannabis legalization online, not solely, but you felt compelled to voice your opinion and advocate for legalization.
Yeah.
And so you see a microbusiness opportunity.
Played a role, at least, we could say. But, And, as soon as I saw that the microbusiness was a thing, I'm like, hey, that sounds like me. Let's do this. And as soon as they sort of passed the final bill and we knew that small farmers were going to be a social equity category, I'm like, right. That's really me now. Right. So, I was chomping at the bit, to get in line and get my application in.
What did they call the farmers? There was a subcategory for...
it was... I don't think it has a nice name, like most things in the Minnesota cannabis statutory and regulatory world.
But then the way that they limited who those people could be was so minuscule.
Oh, yeah. It was we only had like 3 or 4 applicants for that first cohort that were using the farmer provision as a social equity applicant, and I don't see that is... I will be curious to see if any of those end up with a license in hand,
or any meaningful length of business, right,
especially because at that time they were selling the social equity as you're going to get this is your head start into cultivation. Right. We wanted to get plants in the ground before we have retail.
Some sort of priority.
Yeah.
But the microbusiness was an uncapped license type.
Yes. And they,
And so you thought, or it was capped and then they decided not to cap it?
I'm a little fuzzy on that.
My point though is there was no real you didn't necessarily see if I can get my micro business, I can do my business.
Yeah.
It wasn't the license type. You actually you're pre-approved. You have if you wanted to pursue that, you still could get your micro business license.
Sure, there's a way that I still could get my micro business.
So it wasn't directly because of the license type that's preventing you.
Right.
Right.
It was not that. Yeah, I mean, I was part of that first lottery and all that fun stuff, but
Yeah. Why did it get pushed back from November to?
yeah, because I was working a job off the farm at that point to make the money that was going to be necessary to start the business. And I remember it's like, okay, yeah, a couple of days from now, strategizing, I'm going to be at work. The lottery's going to be going on. How do I be on my earphone and be listening to the lottery numbers come in?
To see your
to see if I get a license or not, because the odds were looking pretty good for the micro business applicants that were in it.
Right.
To that first social equity lottery,
which never actually.
And then the day before, it's like, don't bother. It's got an injunction.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Nobody gets one.
Nobody gets one.
And then it just sort of languished for.
And that delays the rulemaking process. That delays all parts of getting folks online.
Yeah, that really did a lot to delay the market, delay getting plants in the ground, and this is how we end up here.
November to March, and just to think of let's say you get that license November, the prep work to prepare
you have all fall, winter, early spring to kind of get your build
plants in order, your nuts are out.
Yeah, exactly.
And to think the momentum that the independent market may have had, with the ability to be like, we all have time.
Yeah.
I
remember being not as disappointed when that lottery was canceled, because we were all thinking that according to statute, they had to begin accepting applications in January. So we're like, okay, we're only delayed 3 months now before they have to accept the applications. And then they have, I believe it was 90 days. Somewhere in there was a 90-day timer for them to approve or reject the applications. So we're thinking okay, 1st of March, we should have these things. They should be issuing licenses. And nope.
That whole get started early, build supply vision.
Yeah, just kind of fell apart a little or a big piece at a time.
And that's why you see $4,000 pounds right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that was locked in earlier this year. That unfortunately, you look at where it is now and no, there's a lot of abandonment of those ideas that happen.
Right. Which I suppose to be level with their organization or their operation is when one head leaves, another head comes in and you get a new regime.
Yeah.
But not to stay there. I think the program was far too ambitious. If you're going to have they ripped up the old records, expungement. So on one hand, they can say, oh, well, we expunged so many cases. But on the other hand, you didn't deliver on so many promises.
Yeah. And
so with Minnesota market, you can always left-hand the argument.
Oh, for sure.
Because there's so much happening.
Yeah. You can always point to something.
Yeah.
At least at that point in time. And then something comes along and waylays the whole thing again, and you've got to find something else to point to. But
I mean, I even think you could left hand the hemp stuff.
Oh.
Look at how much of a success it's been.
Yeah.
Yes, but
then
the
Farm Bill comes along.
You misled the most fragile group of licensees that you're providing space for to bring online into the market, the social equity applicants.
Yeah. I mean, they really, I feel like, used social equity more as cannon fodder than anything to like just send them into we were the first ones through the gates. We got sent right into the buzzsaw of local government regulation, right? It was like, oh,
So
especially when so many of us had been, fighting that legalization battle at the state level. And then you get to okay, we won, right? Let's have a big party August 1st. And then you try to go to work your way down to the next local government unit.
Talk me through, what county are you in Zumbrota?
I'm in Goodhue County.
Goodhue County
is where I am, and so I live out in the county. So they are my local unit of government.
I was on the OCM's Excel sheet the other day.
Okay.
Looking at each license, approved license.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I saw any, maybe one, Goodhue County.
That is not surprising in the least.
Didn't see your name there.
My name will not be on there, unfortunately. But
what all has Goodhue County done to provide you a bad time?
Well, I mean,
and
it all started out rather nicely, I must say. That the first thing that you hear from OCM upon getting that pre-approved applicant status is you need to be in conversation. That's the biggest thing they can give you, is you need to be in conversation with your local unit of government and really get to know them, and you want to be best friends with them. And it's like, okay, that's doable. We could do that and have my license. All that's, the lottery's going through. That would have been December of 2024. As we got into the new year, I talked to our county land use manager, who's a lovely lady by the name of Megan. She was wonderful to work with. Heard a lot about, she was really excited to help get this new industry going. Going to be an advocate at the county level. This music to my ears. It's great. And so knowing a lot of other people in the same boat, kind of in the industry, that were feeling out their local governments at the same time and looking for properties, and then trying to figure out, okay, what's the local unit of government for this real estate? How do they approach cannabis? Can I have a business? Can I manufacturing, cultivation, whatever? How's that going to go? And so I'm recommending to people like, hey, you should check out Goodhue County. I've been hearing really great things about them. And then a friend of mine texts me one day, I think it must have been March, like, did you see your local county ordinances? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm a very up with the news kind of fella. Keep track of all this stuff. What do you mean?
You've got Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And so he texts me this ordinances that were adopted in December that I had no idea about were even under consideration at all. So I was very surprised, like totally caught off guard.
Meanwhile, you're talking to Megan in 2025.
Yeah. Where all of this had been decided, 2, maybe 3 months ago at the county level. And, like when we moved here, I subscribed to the local newspaper so I can get all the information about what's going on with the city and the county government and all this type of thing, to keep abreast of the news. And especially, like, I had, at the time, had news search results for like cannabis ordinances. I was seeing every one of them pop up in my feed on a daily basis, and then just blindsided by my own. Because, and this is, again, these are all kind of unique county to county. Everybody's story has been a little different. In mine, I figured out, it turns out, like, back during the pandemic, as a cost-saving measure, they changed the newspaper of record for the county. And now it's one that I don't subscribe to, so I was never saw
What newspaper is that?
Oh gosh, it is. I don't know the name of it.
Really? So
but
to this
like
day, you
800 people subscribe to it in the entire county. It's mostly covers. It's on kind of on the border of the county. It mostly concerns itself with out of county stuff.
Wow.
But it meets the statutory requirements for a newspaper of record for the county.
I see.
And they save themselves a little money, I guess, every year by making it harder for people to know what their own government is doing, which is
Fucked up.
very frustrating.
Yes.
So, yeah, but we got this whole list of things that they passed in December, which was a month before OCM adopted their rules. So they've come up with, and if you know much about the process and what was supposed to happen, the state and OCM have basically said, we have all the rules covered. Counties don't need to really think about this very much. You need to concern yourself with where these buildings are zoned, or where these businesses are zoned, like what zones they're going to operate in.
Yes.
And other things like hours of business. And there's maybe a couple other things that they're supposed to have ordinances around.
Which they felt they were being encroached upon.
Yes. We went very quickly from, oh no, how can you saddle us with all this responsibility, to, oh no, we need more responsibility over this, right? That switch unfortunately happened very quickly.
And the
local government.
The League of Cities was very
very active
active.
in that legislative sessions, both of them around those issues. And that is what I've heard from the legislators themselves that were shepherding this bill through, is that locals said, we don't want you to saddle us with this sort of regulatory burden. We are not a cannabis regulatory agency. We don't have the expertise or the manpower to do this. That's your job. And they said, okay, well, we'll make that OCM's job, and then you have these very limited set of responsibilities here. And wouldn't you know it, when it comes time for them to make those rules, and they say, why can't we make more rules? We want to make more rules about this.
I see. So essentially that's what Goodhue County.
Right. Is they adopted a whole bunch of ordinances that are essentially in conflict with the rules that OCM later adopted.
Okay.
And so if you want to operate right now a cannabis business in Goodhue County, you will have to operate by what OCM says you have to do about composting your plant waste, and you have to abide with the totally different thing that Goodhue County says you have to do with your composted plant waste. And like your lighting requirements are completely at odds with each other in a way that is mind-bending, right? But the county and municipal and county governments were not supposed to adopt rules like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as they quickly found out, if they do, nobody's going to do anything about it, because you have a bunch of social equity and small businesses and microbusinesses, and that are cash strapped enough that they don't have lawsuit money. So let's find somewhere else where we can make this business happen. And a lot of them are, I think, still today, you have people frantically searching for a spot that they can make a viable business that they want to make.
But as the outcome of what Goodhue County has done is they've created anti-farmer statutes inside of their county.
For sure.
These play a negative role in creating more agriculture business in these counties, not understanding that cannabis is a tri-crop. It's a third crop. It's in addition to what they're doing.
It is at the heart. It is agriculture. We are growing plants. Yes. We kind of have a whole system of rules about how we do that and what we allow with that. But I think at a lot of the local level, cannabis is not at all considered part of agriculture. And that's where we're, even at the state level, you could argue
Mm-hmm.
we were kept in a very different bucket than the rest of ag. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the OCM does not have a lot of ag people.
They started pulling some people from the ag department in the early days because that's where a lot of hemp was based out of.
Yes.
But sad to say, a lot of that focus didn't translate to the new agency, I guess.
Well, it's interesting because we had such a skeleton of a medical program.
Yeah.
That instead of improving upon what they had, they created an entirely new agency.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, we were in a very unique situation in that we're coming into legalization with this tiny, nearly crippled medical program, and then this behemoth of a low dose industry kind of coming in. It's just a weird spot. Yeah.
The difference of Minnesota with Governor Dayton and Minnesota with Governor Walz.
Yeah. And I wish the outcomes were a little different, but
yeah. So
I don't know. We'll see.
When ultimately did you throw in the towel?
I'd been thinking about that, and I think it holds true for most other people that I know that are in the same situation, that the dream was killed a little bit at a time, unfortunately, in that it's I remember getting sent the ordinances and reading through them, and the first thing that I thought upon reading it was oh damn, my dreams of having a greenhouse business gone, just right out the window. That was very clear to me right off the bat. The ordinances were so prohibitive around greenhouses in my county that I was I wanted to do that, but not anymore. So how can I make the next thing work?
Right.
Where do we pivot from here?
Right.
And it was outdoors with solventless manufacturing, basically. And so you kind of reformulate, refocus, try to, what can we do? Just try this. You run into something else that just knocks that down. Who was the next thing with them was, can't do processing at all. Manufacturing's right out. They, unfortunately, because of the demographics of who's on county commissions, which is quite an older bunch, and especially in rural Minnesota, they hear cannabis manufacturing and concentrates. They go, what is the nearest analogous thing that I have for that? And it's unfortunately a meth lab, I'm pretty sure, because they're just nope, that's right out. Absolutely not. Yeah. So,
which is, in our eyes, it's technology, it's industry innovation, it's product refinement.
Yeah. And it's the sort of inevitable technological progress that goes with any sort of agricultural product over time. And
we have meatless hamburgers.
Yeah. We have corn that yields 4 times what it did 100 years ago, right? And we harvest it and grow it completely differently. But this is good progress, and manufacturing cannabis is very suspicious, illegal activity. So
even licensed.
That was one of will always be a very clear memory for me, is when I went in front of the county government to get to bring these sort of a whole laundry list of concerns that I brought to them, and saying, okay, how can I get these are a problem for me. You've already said that that you adopt them before rules. These will have to change eventually. How about now's good. Now's good for me. Here's the things that I think really should be revisited. The biggest problems are this.
Yeah.
And to hear from the county commissioner that it was, I think at one point it said that it was implied that it is disrespectful to bring this up to them because they'd worked so hard coming up with their ordinances, and that they wanted, I think this was specifically a request about getting manufacturing to be able to occur on agriculture land, right? So you can single source and make a live rosin out of your product that you've grown on the farm. But that, no, they really did want that to occur in an industrial zoned place, because those were in cities, and in cities there's more police and the police can keep an eye on it. Well, that's not their job, and stigma much, but
This is immediately putting your agriculture commodity crop into the hands of police, right?
Yeah.
It's so not like you driving through the country. Corn is just on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You could yank one off if you wanted to.
Yeah. And you could, same thing, you can drive by a winery and go hop out your car and grab some grapes. Nobody's going to be any wiser, but
because they've let that market fully develop, and to actually get out of its way.
Yeah. And it's sad the number of like really innovative things that I've heard from other microbusiness hopefuls, right, that have just sort of haven't been abandoned, left, thrown overboard because they just don't fit the regulation. And like, man, we could have had such cool stuff, but no, damn, it doesn't fit what the state thinks that everyone should be doing. So
news-wise, I saw recently that they claim thousands of people have been pulled over for having cannabis out in their cars.
Yeah.
You have to have it stored in your trunk. If you don't have a trunk, it has to be in the back seat of your car.
Not accessible to the driver or passengers, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a serious thing people should be aware of as more and more they retreat to the homegrown market.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's especially because as it exists currently in statute, there's no legal way to transport your home grow.
Okay.
Because it does not fall into that definition of like approved unopened packaging.
Right.
Because your mason jar, you can't prove that it was never opened, right? It's not doesn't have your COA and your stickers all over it,
right.
So it's not approved packaging.
Hasn't been sent to the 2 testing labs.
Right. Yeah, you haven't waited 3 weeks to get that thing back, so
yeah, take it with you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they didn't want you to fully extract your product on your farm.
Oh yeah.
But they only want your home grow at your house. So what do you expect us to do with it?
It is interesting that, you can walk around with 2 ounces, but don't, I guess, take it in a car. I don't know.
And maybe if they're listening, they'll realize that's the type of stuff they need to fix.
Yeah. I mean, we're kind of lucky in that we get a crack at it every session now, right? We can push for changes, and hopefully we'll get some over the years. But if Minnesota has shown us anything around cannabis regulation, it's they're willing to set up, for example, the medical program. They're willing to set it up to fail and let that ride a long time before they even think about fixing it.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Kind of like the Farm Bill.
Yeah. They'll let it ride a while before they completely upset the apple cart again.
Yeah. If people want to keep in touch, stay in touch.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, follow me on the Instagrams where I live online.
Fully shadow banned?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
So it's Green Machine Cannabis.
Yep. Is all one word.
2 N's in cannabis.
2 N's in cannabis even. Yep. No funny underlines or dashes yet. So keep my fingers crossed. I keep some of those jokes off of there. Unless I have to go to my backup. But
And we're at Canna Connect _
there you go.
MN.
Been through the ringer at least once there. Huh? Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. Anything we could, anything to hopefully get some better decision making from local units of government out there after a while.
Yeah.
It will go a long ways to.
Southern Minnesota needs some help.
There's a lot of northern, western, eastern, all the parts
Yeah.
need some help. Unfortunately,
Sure.
yeah.
Andrew Johnmeyer, Green Machine Farms. We'll be right back.